Greetings, salutations, hola, hello. My name is DJ Radu, and welcome to the first episode of On My Hard Drive. On My Hard Drive is a podcast / web series that allows me to discuss the discoveries I make as I take an involved listen to the music on my hard drive. Today, I'll discuss several artists that I linked together by a unique thread, film scores and soundtracks, and of course, I'll be discussing the second compilation of Jazz is Dead, featuring Roy Ayers.
Rock on, rock on, rock on, rock on, rock on.
Welcome back. Now, just to provide a little bit of background, pretty much all of my music is on my hard drive. Now, my music is organized by year and month, and I pretty much review everything like 1 month in arrears. So when I went to check out the month of May, I noticed that I had 3 scores in my May folder. Even more interesting than that, each of those scores was composed by a jazz musician. Now, for some reason, I really didn't want to leave anything at an odd number, so I went back 1 more month to the month of April, and I got 1 more score / soundtrack that was composed by a jazz musician. So the first score that we're going to discuss is also the most recently released film project. Spike Lee's most recent film, The Five Bloods, was just released on Netflix this past Friday to much acclaim, and deservedly so. The film score for The Five Bloods was composed by elder statesman and trumpeter Terrence Blanchard. Now, Terrence Blanchard is a veteran of the film score game with over 40 film scores under his belt, with the majority of those being Spike Lee films. He's also Grammy nominated for his work on The Black Klansman. Now, if you've seen The Five Bloods, you know that the score for this movie isn't really jazzy. It's visceral, it's grand, it's orchestral, it's really cinematic. It presses itself onto the scenes in the movie, and I really enjoy that about it. When I pressed play on the very first track of this score, I knew it was going to be something special, and I hope that the movie would be the same, and I was not let down at all. A really great thing about this project is that it makes the most menial things feel monumental. Like, you can put on this score and cut your grass and it feel like you're taking a trek through the Amazon. It's just that big. So you definitely want to add this one to your playlist. Next up, we have Chris Bowers with his score for Mrs. America, the FX miniseries, which follows the path to ratify the Equal Rights Amendment, told by the viewpoints of different women, both real and imagined. He keeps it really light and inspirational, but it feels good. Chris Bowers is also no newcomer to the scoring game. He's won a Daytime Emmy Award, plus he scored The Green Book, Dear White People, as well as the Ava DuVernay When They See Us. He's a highly respected pianist, and he performed at the 2016 International Jazz Day concert at the White House with the Obamas. Coincidentally, we're going to follow that up with Kamasi Washington and his film score for the Netflix Michelle Obama documentary, Becoming. Now, he's most known for the work on his solo debut, The Epic, which is largely an avant-garde free jazz project. Or you may be familiar with the work he's done with hip hop artists like Kendrick Lamar. But on this one, he keeps it really light. The first track, Shot Out of a Cannon, has a slight bossa feel to it that I really enjoy. It's just too short. It's a score though, so you know it is what it is. But for the rest of the project, he keeps it really soulful and light, which is really pleasant. It has a really pleasant feel to it. I'm not using that word lightly, like it's pleasing. So it's really great to chill or dine to. And to finish things up, we're going to go to my man Robert Glasper and his work on the score / soundtrack for The Photograph. He shares the bill with Erykah Badu and James Poyser, Her, and Lucky Day. So it has a R&B type feel to it, but the portion that he covers, which is the majority of it, is straight up jazz, and it sounds fantastic. If jazz is what you're looking for, I know each of the previous ones I mentioned weren't as jazzy, this is the one. This is the one that you need. Now, the interesting thing for me is I was certain that Glasper created the score for the Miles Davis Don Cheadle vehicle, Miles Ahead. He didn't. He supervised the music on it and he appeared on the soundtrack, but he did not do the score. He did create a project named Everything's Beautiful, where they remixed Miles Davis tracks. That featured Erykah Badu once again, frequent collaborator Bilal, as well as Ledisi. And I'll include links to all of that in the show notes on djradu.com.
Rock on. Rock on. Rock on.
Welcome back, and now it's time to discuss the second compilation from Jazz Is Dead featuring Roy Ayers. Just a little bit of background. Jazz Is Dead was a concert series that took place in LA. Now, during Black History Month of 2018, Ali Shaheed Muhammad and Adrian Young had concerts with several legendary jazz musicians. And what people did not know was, in addition to having those concerts, they were also recording albums with those artists. This release is the second in a series of 7 albums that Jazz Is Dead will be dropping in 2020. Now, just a little bit of background on the major players on this one. Ali Shaheed Muhammad, you know him as a member of A Tribe Called Quest. You know him as a member of Lucy Pearl. He's also one of the most humble cats. He has a lot of production credits under his belt. He's produced for everyone from Luther Vandross all the way up to Mos Def, but you don't really hear about it. So, you know, it makes him a really enigmatic type of figure. I heard that he's a multi-instrumentalist, but I only know about him playing the bass. In addition to that, one thing I forgot to mention is that he has one solo album, Shahidullah and Stereotypes. Adrian Young is a cat that came on the scene, and from what I understood, his aesthetic was his predilection for the analog sound. He's also a law professor, a musician, a composer. He has a really retro, spacey sound, if that makes any sense. But if you've heard his projects, I know my introduction to him was the Delphonics album. That's the name of it, the Delphonics album that he created with and for the Delphonics. So you can kind of tell just from that what his aesthetic is. And finally, the person who needs no introduction at all, my man Roy Ayers. Now, Roy is considered to be a key figure in the acid jazz movement. If you don't know what acid jazz is, that pretty much contains artists like Jamiroquai, Brand New Heavies, etc. And he's also known as the godfather of neo soul. Okay, so all of that aside, how do these 3 phenomenal individuals work together? So the album is written by Ali Shaheed Muhammad, Adrian Young, and Roy Ayers. It's produced only by Ali Shaheed Muhammad and Adrian Young. The album has 8 tracks and it's 26 minutes long, a whopping 26 minutes long. I don't know if this was done on purpose or not, but with such a short runtime, it's going to sound fantastic on vinyl. In the liner notes, it reads that this project sounds like Roy Ayers' 1970s work for Polydor. Is that a bad thing? No, not at all. Of course it's great. That's the stuff that we love, right? So the first 4 tracks of the album, that's what you're getting. You're getting that 1970s Polydor, red, black, and green, you know what I'm saying? That integral Roy Ayers sound. When track 5 hits though, is everything that I wanted, everything that I expected from this album. For some reason, it reminds me of how BBD described themselves back in the 90s. Was it like hip hop smoothed out on an R&B tip with a pop feel appeal to it? It's not that, not at all. Don't expect that. But it just kind of goes about what I was wanting. I wanted like a burrito, like a Roy Ayers burrito. I wanted jazz in the middle, covered with neo soul, with like a smothering of hip hop on the top. When track 5 hits, the name of track 5 is Sunflowers. Roy Ayers' drummer, Greg Paul, starts it off with some hip hop drums. And from there, that track and the rest of the album just goes bananas. So I'm not saying disregard the first 4, but from that 5th track going forward, they're taking you on a ride. It's everything that I wanted, more than likely everything that you want from this album as well. The next track is Gravity. And from track 5 to track 6, you really see them pick up and begin to evolve their sound. Keeping with the gravity, you know what I'm saying, space terminology, this one simply goes cosmic. It's taking you to the stratosphere, they're taking you out there. Now, another thing about this album, on 4 of the 8 tracks, we have Phil Rinelli and Wendell Harrison from Tribe Records. The 7th track's name is Solace. Solace is like comfort or consolation, which is what we all need right now in this time. It's really, really, you know what I'm saying, heavy outside right now. A lot of social changes taking place, which is needed. But, you know what I'm saying, when there's change, there's usually conflict. And when there's conflict, there's always some type of consolation that's needed. Roy Ayers and Phil Rinelli and Wendell Harrison provide the only instrumental track on this album, and it's like a 4-minute long jam session. You have trombone, saxophone, some bass, some drums, and of course my man Roy Ayers on vibes, and it is purely divine. You're gonna love it. It's upbeat. It completely takes you there. And they round things off with a spoken word piece, African Sounds. And African Sounds is a track about self-reflection and love. Once again, things that we really need right now. The entire album speaks about love, which is not really something odd. If you're a Roy Ayers fan, you know that he's all about love. He's all about his people, or about, you know what I'm saying, the people. So you get all of those things. And of course, it wouldn't be Roy Ayers if it wasn't sexy. Some of those first 4 tracks, I know I didn't really go into depth on those, simply because if you know Roy Ayers, you know what you're going to get with those. Those last 4 tracks are phenomenal. The entire album is phenomenal, but those last 4 are what I expected to hear from a Roy Ayers album produced by Ali Shaheed Muhammad and Adrian Young, and that's what you get. Now, I forgot to mention earlier, I told you that every artist that I discussed today was tied together by film scores and soundtracks. Ali Shaheed Muhammad and Adrian Young did the score / soundtrack for the Netflix Luke Cage series. They did season 1 and season 2 before becoming the Midnight Hour. And also, of course, my man Roy Ayers did the soundtrack for Coffee in 1973. So each artist that I discussed today are all bound together by soundtracks. Now, if you still can't get enough Roy Ayers after you've picked up Jazz is Dead compilation number 2, BBE released 2 Roy Ayers projects this year. They released Reaching the Highest Pleasure, which is previously unreleased and sounds great. They also released the I Am Your Mind Mr. V remixes, which also sounds phenomenal. And I'll put links to all of these things in the show notes at djradu.com. Thank you for checking out the first episode of my web series on my hard drive. If you enjoyed it, please hit the subscribe button. Please tell your friends. Please spread the word. Shouts out to my man Sways1 for the beat, for the music. Thank you for the hookup. I also did not place any music on the web series because YouTube and other in the record industry is so great at muting things and removing things from the web, from the internet. So I want to be safe. However, I will have snippets and samples of music on my website, djradu.com. Also, I have show notes, things that I mentioned on the web series there as well. I plan to return next week. I don't know what the topic will be. However, if you have subscribed to the mailing list, the information will be there. So I will catch you next time right here on My Hard Drive.
Rock on. Rock on. Rock on. Rock on.